So let's get started. Hey, my name is Ryan Sherrer. Welcome back to Business Uncensored. This show is about saying fuck your feelings and let's talk about business in the way business is supposed to be talked about. In my life, I have noticed that I'm a little different. I mean, just look around me. But I've also been a director of marketing, director of operations. I've run my own company, lots of charities, blah, blah, blah. The show's not about me. It's about my guests. But why I'm prefacing this is being different is not a bad thing. Being different, if you learn how to do it and harness it and understand the power of it, you can make that something you incorporate into your life, your work, and see a new level of success that you've never seen before. So with that, I want to bring Roy Osing. I said your last name correctly, correct?
Absolutely brilliantly as well.
Yeah. Roy Osing to the podcast. Now, if you don't know Roy, he's all about being different. That's kind of how he's made where he's at, author of Be Different or Be Dead series. So welcome to the show, Roy.
Thanks, Ryan. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
No problem. I mean, we talked a little bit before when it was Small Business Chronicles and before I shifted the brand. And I brought you this idea about doing a business show to where I get to be me, I get to curse, we get to do the things, we get to talk about whatever. And you said, well, get some structure around it and figure it out, right? That was the advice that you gave me. And after that day, I went and I read a bunch of your stuff and I did the structure and we're on like show 12. And it's an absolute honor to have you back and to talk about the art of being different, because it is an art. It isn't just go out there like Klinger and Mash and throw a dress on and dance around and do a lot of things. It's about how you take being different and strategize that to your success. And you are a master at this, my friend.
Well, thank you very much. And you hit on an absolutely critical point because I'm constantly asked the question, well, what is this whole notion about being different? What does it mean? And I have to clarify that being different isn't a physical thing. It's not about, the fact that you're wearing body piercings. It's not about the color of your hair. It's not about your sexual preferences. It's not about your pronouns. It's not about, and I'm not denigrating that, that's fine, but it's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is being unique in a way that other people care about. And so if you're in business and you're addressing a given market segment, okay, the power of being different is all about differentiation, which is woefully being done today, by the way. We can talk for hours about that, but it's the key, it's the juice to differentiation. So you find out what your customers want or need or crave. In my world, it's not about needs anymore. And you discover how you can deliver value into that in a way that nobody else does. And so I talk about the only statement. You want to be the only one that does what you do. You don't want to be better. You don't want to be best. Those are claptrap aspirations at best. And they mean nothing out there because everybody does it. Okay. So being different, okay, is something that quite frankly, as a society, we need, but in the right definition. Again, it's being different in a way that serves other people. That's the key here. And sometimes it's very difficult to do, and that's fine. I have to create a process for that and everything else. But that's the key. It's not about you. It's about them.
And that's 1,000%. It's harnessing being different and moving that way. I think one of the things I struggle with in being different is because back when I was a comedian or an artist or all of these other things, you can be different. Like that's the whole point of the job, be different, right? But you move into business, you be into other places. And one thing I want to talk about that I really highlighted, and we're going to start with this, is when you're being different, sometimes you find yourself without barriers, guardrails, or an understanding. I think people like to be the same because it comes with documentation. Every business has books. Every bank has a thing, your HR, your manuals, what your mom, dad taught you. They all give you guardrails, which what you call benchmarks to understand if you're doing right or not doing right. A lot of times when you're being different and creative, there are none of those benchmarks. You find yourself out in the open with all of those things. So my first question to you is, one, kind of explain what benchmarks and why they're bad, because we all seem to love them and hold on to them and care about them. And then second part is, and we'll get to that, is how do you fight that, oh, I want to go back to the safety of benchmarks? How do you, because I struggle with that. So walk us through the benchmark process.
Well, yeah, benchmarking is actually the antithesis of innovation and creativity, because it's nothing but copying. Okay, so if you had guardrails, okay, you have a box defined by those guardrails, and you end up playing in the box, which everybody else does. Okay, so yes, it's comfortable following a best-in-class organization, etc., because we believe that if we copy them, we'll be successful as well. And that's nonsensical thinking. Okay, it is. It's absolutely, you can do some of that if you're talking about operational components of your business. The problem is people use that as a method to be creative strategically. And that's where we run into problems. If you're copying somebody, if you have benchmarks that you're trying to live within that are defined by somebody else, you are nothing more than a copycat. You will never be anything more than a copycat. And that's okay if that's where you want to be. But if you want to be a high performer and a high performing organization, you have to disrupt the status quo. You cannot be a conformist, okay? As I said earlier, figure out what your marketplace craves and deliver into those cravings in a way that nobody else does. And you will always, and actually one of the measures of success I would suggest is if you discover there are no boundaries, okay, you're doing the right thing. Now you have to be comfortable with discomfort. Okay, being different is about living in the discomforting world. Okay, that's where it is. I mean, look at what Steve Jobs did, for heaven's sakes. You think anybody, okay, had any ideas that he had when he was starting to develop technology and so forth? No. And you're going to run into non-believers, and you're going to run into people that want to stab you in the back, okay, because you're moving forward in an innovative way and they're incapable of doing it. So the first thing you have to do is accept the fact, if inside you, if running through your veins is an absolute disgust for the status quo, then you are a person probably qualified to disrupt and be different, right? If you want to be comfortable, if you don't want to sweat, okay, if you want to be able to snuggle in with other people and feel the warmth of their body and be governed by that feeling, then you're a herd thinker, and that's fine. Stay there, but you will never be different. And so you have to look at, I mean, pain is a strategic concept, right? And pain is something that disruptors and people who want to be different feel all the time. And the reason for that is you're out there and everybody else is over here. That's good, because we need you to be out there. We need disruptors, okay, in a productive way. We need be different people who are driven to serve others in unique ways, who are driven to innovate and create, not copy. And so the benchmarking thing, unfortunately, is so well ingrained out there, Ryan. I mean, the textbooks have done a really good job telling people and convincing people that you need to benchmark best in class if you want to be successful. I say fucking bullshit. Get rid of it.
No, it's 1,000%, because I've made my entire life on being different, on coming out and doing the thing that's different. And that doesn't mean, and being different doesn't mean that you're not going to take some staples. Like I did not invent podcasting, right? That's not a thing. Like there's certain staples that we go by, but how you present it, how you do it. The herd, like you said, you know, herd thinking. That herd gets fed and they get content, but they also get slaughtered, and there's always people vying for their spot, and there's always whatever. But if I'm the cow that says, fuck it, I'm going that way, I want to see what's over that hill, right? Or fuck it, I'm going to go here and I'm going to see where that is. That's what we're talking about, being different.
We need more people like that. We need more individuals that are driven to stand out, not fit in. Because fitting in, unfortunately, is boring as shit. It's not going to produce. It's not going to produce the kind of growth we need in society and in the economy generally. Look, growth is driven by doing new things. Okay, it's driven by doing outrageous things that resonate with people. I mean, hell, look at the Heart Attack Grill in Las Vegas. I think we talked about this in our first show, right?
Yes.
So this is a business, okay, that sells triple bypass burgers. Okay, they actually advertise that their target market is obesity. And in fact, if you weigh over 250 pounds, you get a free meal. Now, I'm not saying that's right. Okay. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying what they've done is you talk about a niche. They've discovered a niche. And if you read TripAdvisor on these guys, they're extremely successful, right?
Right.
And so, people would look at that leader and go, how ridiculous is that? And I would say, no, you're not understanding what this dude is trying to do.
No, 1,000%. It's because I think some of this is, so we live in a world that has become extraordinarily shittily politicized, right? And from the top down, we're taught, like, if you look at the internet, you look at comments, you look at whatever, whether it's a lifestyle choice, candidate, whatever, man, the comments are a good mixed bag of fuck you, I hate you, and you're my new hero, right? But there is a lot of criticism in those comments. Being different does not come without criticism. Holy shit, it comes with so much criticism that you're right. You've got to be a little bit different in your thinking and handle that criticism. But taking a stand and taking a stand and doing what you believe in your heart, not just in your heart, but business wise, and your thinking and your logic and your whatever. If that separates for you from the herd, that criticism is part of what you have to deal with, but that's also a marker that you're doing the right thing. And with that, also, I got to put the caveat that stupidity and bravery are related, and you really don't know the outcome. You really don't know which is which until the outcome. So there's a lot of that to being different as well. Yeah. But you still have to take those chances. You still have to go out there and learn from those things where you stumble, you fall, you get away from the herd, you fell down that hill, and you're just like, fuck it, not going down that hill again. Let's try this hill. Well, there's a lot of that too.
Yeah, that's right. And a couple comments I would say, look at it in the ultimate case, okay, being different is about driving superlative performance. And so the metric, okay, is not the activity, because it's a means. The end you're looking for is always superlative performance. Mm-hmm. My experience in taking a startup to $1 billion in annual sales is that the concept of being different, okay, to differentiate, was the key thing that enabled us to do that. So again, you're being different to serve people in a unique way because you believe that when you execute on that pristinely, it drives top line and it drives incredible performance. And so, the ultimate proof, okay, is performance. And the naysayers, and this is what I discovered, the naysayers eventually go away, okay? Because when they see you perform, they go, maybe there's something in this. I mean, I had incredible army of enemies, okay, in my career, just doing the stuff that I did. But ultimately, I conquered them. I conquered them not for my strength. I conquered them by performing in an unbelievable way. And so for all you guys out there thinking about, okay, I want to do that, but I'm going to get crapped on. I said, I'll say to you, you deserve to be crapped on if you don't perform. So this is not a gimmick. All right. This is not the flavor of the week. Being different is a strategy to differentiate in a way that drives performance. I'll say that again. It's a strategy, right, to drive performance. It's not the end of itself. I need to understand the context within which you're working. And yes, you can expect that it will be a painful journey. It has to be. If you can't suffer the pain, you won't be different and you won't perform. They'll look at the people doing the same stuff all the time. They're kind of like mediocre. Right? If you look at the performance of some of these organizations, well, a lot of them go out of business because I always say, if you're not different, you're dead or soon will be. I mean, that's the mantra. They can't differentiate. They die. It's as simple as that. And so, yes, it's painful. Ryan, you're absolutely right. And we need people that can sustain themselves in that sort of an environment. But you know what? I mean, the rewards are just fucking awesome. Okay, when you grow revenues 50% quarter over quarter, and you look at that, and I got goosebumps now just thinking about, because we as a team would look at that and go, what the hell? I said, well, you know what? We're capturing the hearts and souls. We're doing the right things. People are executing this puppy like you wouldn't believe. They believe in it. Customers believe in it. Let's just keep it going. You mentioned trying, another thing, experimentation, exceedingly important.
Mhm.
Look, you never know when you're going to, this is what drives me crazy about strategic planning 101 is taught by the pedantics, right? They spend more time trying to get the plan right and less plan executing it, less time executing it, which is fucking crazy. Flip it around. You should spend 20% of your time getting your plan just about right.
Yeah.
And 80% trying to figure out how to execute and try different things and then revise on the way. I call it planning on the run. Absolutely critical.
That was one of my next subjects I really want to talk to you about, because I fucking suck at that part, right? So here's what I do, right? And for as successful as I've been and for what I've done in life and for my failures or whatever, I know when I plan, I do better, right? That's just, there's no question about that. But I also know some of the craziest, best possible things that happened in my life was done on the fly without a plan. So to figure out how to balance both of those, you're right. There's people that I would rather staple my face to a moving train than sit down and have a planning meeting with, because they will literally plan it to death. Like, there's a part that you got to stop planning. You can absolutely overplan shit. What I always tell people is you do not need a perfect product when you start. You need a good starting point and the time to get it there, because too many people will sit in that planning phase and cross out. And if it doesn't look good on paper, they won't get their lazy ass not lazy, but they won't get their ass out of the chair and go start on that plan, because the plan's not perfect. And here's what I think. I think it's a fucking excuse. I think it's a fucking excuse because you're scared, because on paper it works and you're scared to get off your ass and go try it and for it to fail. And I think it's an excuse to stay in your little safety zone.
You're absolutely right. That's my experience. It's my observation. And that's fundamentally why I had to create this strategic game planning process that would allow the definition of a plan that you described, but not a plan that is going to take 37 months to do. It's
right.
A process that literally is 24 hours long. So in 24 hours, and I've been doing this with clients for ages, in 24 hours, did I say 24 hours, you got a plan.
Yes.
Okay, that you can execute on the 25th. And the plan isn't perfect. You hit on I think one of the biggest sources of inertia is this thing that we've been taught to be perfect. We've been taught to get the right answer. Okay, we've been taught to do all that stuff. And the reality is, in an analog world, regardless of how much people want to digitize it, as long as you got people behavior going on, it's analog. And in an analog world, nothing is perfect, because I don't know who in the hell defines perfection anyways. And so, yes, the quest for perfection causes people to ponder, which prevents them, in a lot of cases, as you point out, because they want it, to not act. And so it's a procrastination tool. That's all it is. So get your plan notionally correct and start executing and revise on the go. It worked for me building $1 billion a year business. So I don't see that any way that it wouldn't apply to everybody else listening to the podcast. And there's all sorts of process that I've created to do this. Check out my website on it and get some help. That's all you need to do. But please don't plan for 17 weeks. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Right. And yeah, like, because the reason why I get angry when I talk about it's fucking fear, it's fear, is because I used to be really scared to take these steps. Right. I used to, there come a point in my life where I'm fearless. I don't know if I got older, got drunk too many times, or took one too many drugs. I don't know. I woke up one day and I had fear again. Right. And it took me a long time to deal with that. And it never went away. I still have it, by the way. And that might just be getting older I don't know. And hopefully it won't get taken down, but editor guy, Charlie Day has a speech I'll send you that I want you to put right here. It talks about how you can't be scared of failure, that it can't be, because his story is that Charlie Day, if you don't know who he is, if you've ever seen Always Sunny in Philadelphia, he was one of the creators of it. And he's big movie star, millionaire at this point, all of those things, right? And he was saying that he went to college, he was going to be a financial advisor, he got a job at Edward Jones, and he hated every minute of his life. Every single minute of his life he hated. So he packed up his shit from New York, moved back to Philadelphia, went and bought a camera, slept on his roommate's floor for a year and a half while he started doing acting gigs and developing shows and doing whatever. And he said, I failed a lot. He said, but if you want to have a success, you're going to fail in the way that you want to fail. You're going to get your feelings hurt and you're going to pick your ass back up and you're going to go out there and you're going to fail again. And then you're going to get your feelings hurt and you're going to pick your ass back up. And that fear of failure is what will stop you from being successful, because he had a good job. He had a college education. He had all of this. And he's like, I'm going to go do this weird thing over here. And he became successful at it. So it is really, I think, and it's kind of a repetitive thing on being different, is just that fear of being different and the things that come with that. But the other thing that you said that I want to reiterate is the rewards on the other side of that fear, the rewards on the other side of being different, the rewards on that of you being the only one and breaking free from that herd is something that I never believed was imaginable in my life, in business.
Well, the other thing about failure is, like, in my experience, that is the best source of innovation. Because if you're failing, if you just need to fail fast, right? Fail fast, because time's not your friend. Fail fast and never make the same mistake twice. But failure, the more you fail, the more innovative you have to be. And so it's kind of ironic. A lot of people think you got a benchmark to be innovative. Well, that's crazy. No, you have to fail. So you're absolutely right. And you know what? You just have to look around at most successful people didn't get to where they got to by hitting a home run. Right? There's no silver bullet to this. It's try.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, we need businesses to create cultures around trying. One of the things I used to do with my direct reports when I was running a business is I would say to them, okay, how many times did you fail this week? Now, at first, they thought that was a threat. So they would say, well, I didn't fail, Roy. And that's not the answer I wanted. I said, well, if you're not failing, you're not doing shit. I want you to do stuff, right? Right. So you need to do shit. You need to fail. And then when they say, yeah, I failed 3 times. And I'd say, okay, what'd you learn from that? Oh, okay. So a completely different conversation. People were encouraged to act, right? And as soon as they act and they get rewarded for the act, the fear over time dissipates. It goes away. You just can't tell people, don't be afraid. You have to be with them in the moment when they do, and coach them and tell them that it's okay, but apply some structure to it. The conversation about how many times did you fail? What did you learn? What were the results? How can I help? That's what leaders do. They ask, how can I help you fail? Now, let me ask you, Ryan, how many times have you heard a leader in business say, one of my biggest jobs is to ask people, how can I help you fail? Not very many.
Not very many at all.
And yet, that is a key thing in terms of organizational performance, in my experience. I mean, it's because it's a human thing. So that's the way to get rid of fear, is you have to engage as a leader to make sure that people understand that it's okay.
Well, and failure is completely okay. And I think that's just comes with that dynamic of like you said, the structure of the academics and all of that, because what are we taught from the moment we enter any sort of education, is that if you're not the best, you're a failure, right? That Ricky Bobby, if you're not first, you're last, right? And that's not necessarily the case. You're going to fail and you're going to succeed, and you're going to fail and you're succeed. And the culture around failure has to change. Don't get me wrong, there are some monumental failures that doesn't need to be repeated, but in your business, your day to day, you're being a boss. I'm training a new person to run my production team, right? And they fail a lot. Hi, Maria. They fail a lot. And that's one of the things that I do, is that when she fails, I try not to get mad and I try not to whatever. And we sit down and we're like, this is how you failed. This is what happened. This is how we're going to do it again. That feeling you have during failure sucks. But take that feeling, because I really feel that negative feelings and positive feelings have the same realm in your thought system. You fail, it feels bad, you do whatever. Then you sit down and you look at how you failed. And it's a god awful analogy, but I can't think of another one, is that I love plane crash documentaries, right? Those old ones that, would go step by step. And the way plane crash and the way that they investigate one is the way that I incorporated how I investigate my failures in life. It happened. You can't unbake a cake. It's done. It's sad. So now we get to work and figuring out how it failed. And it's never finger pointing. It's never that guy did this and that guy did that. It's like this screw was loose and that happened and this happened. And at the end of the day, they have a logical listing of what failed. And now they can take that logical listing, apply it to aircraft, make air travel safer, and air travel moves on. They didn't stop. They didn't stop air travel after the first plane crash or the 7th or the 100th. They take the failure to make it safer and to keep it moving forward. And it's almost, I know it's a really bad analogy, but it's almost the same one that I use in my business.
Well, I think it's an autopsy.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely,
when you fail,
1,000%.
you have to do an autopsy on exactly what happened. But again, this cannot turn into kind of like a multi-week kind of effort. Okay, quickly trying to figure out, what happened, what can you do differently, et cetera, and then move on, because you never want to have the autopsy consume 3 weeks of analysis, because when that's going on, their feet's not moving and they're not performing and they're not delivering results. And so, the other thing I used to do is I used to have build in this whole notion of trying and failing into people's performance plans. So I would say to, for example, the director or the vice president of marketing, I'd say your objective is to fail 5 times this every month. And at first they go, what the fuck, Roy? Is that really? And I said, yep, because that's what I believe innovation is all about. Now, the failings, you cannot sewer the company. Okay, so let's not get silly here, but people get it, right? The naysayers, they go, whoa, that's a stupid idea. You're going to kill your company. They're just looking for an excuse to shit on your idea. Okay, everybody gets what it is. It's a cultural thing. And the other thing I have to say is be patient. Okay, because this failing, trying, experimentation, innovative culture doesn't happen overnight. It takes a while, and it takes consistent leadership in terms of encouraging it, because we're dealing with human beings here, right? And they don't change very easily, right? And sometimes have to be replaced, but be patient. That's the other thing I would say.
1,000%. So we've kind of covered failure, and I kind of want to move on because I got so much more that I want to cover with you. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is it says in here to say yes culture for when you're serving with clients, because I think that's one thing that really just pisses I get so fucking enraged, right?
Oh, yeah.
As a young man, I had some anger issues, lots of therapy, lots of whatever. I'm good until I have to get on a phone with a call center, until I have to get on a phone with whatever. I get a product. I have an expectation it's supposed to work. It doesn't work. I have an issue. I have a problem. And I pick up the phone. I wait 45 minutes to get a hold of somebody. And that person is non-communicative or couldn't give 2 fucks about me. They're just trying to get through their day like everything else. So when you say a say yes culture, I think that we have, not every company, but I think a lot of companies have bottomed out on their customer experience. So when you start talking about a say yes culture, that really resonated with me. So take a few minutes and kind of explain to us what you mean by a say yes culture to enable customers to do business with you.
Yeah, so it's all about what do I have to do to enable customer transactions as opposed to discourage them. And so if you do an analysis of most organizations and just look at their rules and procedures and policies, for example, they're meant to control the engagement process. Okay, so you run into what I call dumb rules in my work, rules that just nothing but fucking piss people off. Okay, and the frontline people have a terrible time because they have to enforce rules that they themselves don't believe in. And so they're saying no all the time because of this rule structure and the process and the philosophy of the company. Okay, yet at the same time, these organizations have a strategy that says we will exceed customers' expectations. Okay, so the irony is just dripping. They have this aspiration to create memorable experiences, but the inside, the guts of their organization in terms of rules, procedures, policies, culture is exactly the opposite. It's a control culture. So my notion is you need to figure out a way to get your business to say yes all the time. Now, there are certain things you can't say yes to. All right, I get that. And again, the naysayers will say, that's a stupid idea, because there's rules and regulations. And I say, yeah, there might be, but how about we just kind of try and make them a little more customer friendly, right? So you don't just zap the guy's head off when they come. So the notion here is, what can I do to say yes? I've actually run into some businesses that do that. And it's unbelievable. I mean, there's a restaurant up here that has this culture, and they actually have a sign, right? It's a restaurant. They have a sign on their wall saying, say yes. And so, of course, I'm the type of person, I always ask questions about stuff like this. And my wife generally runs away when I start asking questions about this kind of stuff. Anyway, so I'd say to the server, what does that mean? Say yes. Well, it means that we will try to say yes to everything a customer wants. And I said, okay, let's test that. So if I order something that's not on the menu, what would you do? And they'd say, well, yeah, we would provide it to the extent that we could provide it. And we have the materials and all the ingredients, we do it. So make a long story short, they really get it. They have a say yes mentality. These servers know that it's not about, giving away the farm, etc. They know, though, they're going to lean in. And that's the point. If you can get an organization leaning into the customer where you want to say yes, right? What's going to happen is just that process, okay, creates an experience with that individual that individual enjoys. And when they're enjoying it, it's loyalty building. When it's loyalty building, it's profitable, okay, because they refer. I mean, how many times it's actually called an organization called the Cactus Club up here. How many times have I told this story about saying yes? At least a million. At least, well, maybe not a million, but a lot, right? And so that's what it's about, enabling people to do business with you. Don't say no too often. Otherwise, they will leave and tell everybody how fucking shitty you are, right? And spread your word that way, right? And so that's what that notion is all about. And there's ways to measure it. We used to measure, this whole notion of saying yes in customer perception surveys. So, like, how did you enjoy your experience? Did you find it memorable? Did they dazzle you? What worked about it? Did they encourage you to say yes? So it's a way to bake it into the operations of the company as well. But strategically, you need say yes. And I've talked so much about this, and there's a lot of stuff on my website that advocates it, because not too many organizations do it. They're internally driven as opposed to being externally driven to enable customers to do business with you.
Touch a couple points on that. One, because you used the server analogy there. So while I was doing comedy, coming up, broke person, whatever, I was a bartender and a waiter for a long time. Right. And that caveat goes, if you look at the Mediterranean diet, one of the big things is that you eat with people, you don't eat alone. I'm just giving that to give some reference. So back to what I was saying, that server is sharing a meal with that person, which is an intimate experience. Whether there's a server, there's still a part of two people sitting down and sharing this intimate experience. So servers that do well, I've noticed that servers that do really, really well make that experience, enhance that experience for the people that are having it. They take care of needs. They take care of any conflict. They make sure the people walk out of that restaurant and walk out of their meal feeling good, satiated, full, and taken care of. That's a perfect analogy for how you should run your customer side of the business. Now, if you got a guy that comes in there and sets down a bad customer, they're being competitive, being a shithead, being whatever, they're not going to get great service because of their attitude, but that server still tries. And there's a lot of that customer. I just told Maria this morning, I said, look, we want to make sure that we give our customers an experience. We take care of them. We do whatever. We can't excuse bad behavior at the same time. We're not going to allow our customers to abuse us or treat us badly or do of those things, but we're going to be forward thinking. There was a game going back to the say yes in one of my old marketing companies that I worked for, didn't run it. That the employees, the project managers would reach out and say, hey, Roy, I need this picture for your marketing. Right. And that was a kick of the ball. And they would take Roy's file and they'd throw it over here. And if you never got back to me, that never got touched again. That was your fault. We passed the ball to the customer. That customers are relatively in marketing bad at getting back to you in a timely manner. That's just a thing for every marketing company I've been at. That's just a thing. In our company, we're proactive doing that. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we sit down and go over what we're waiting on customers and resend emails and resend things and redo those things. Because the last thing I want is for that customer to fall off or for us to blow that relationship because we're playing past the responsibility. So that's one of the things that we do to do a say yes culture, to make sure that we're on top of things, that they're not coming to us just for production or a podcast or content. It's the experience of making it. It's the experience of creating it. And kind of to wrap up, back to that server mentality is we want to be along with them for the journey enhance the journey, and make sure when that content comes out or their contract's up or whatever, they get up from the table and they walk away feeling satiated, served, full, and happy.
Yeah, a lot of it is in the moment. Like there's a difference between saying to someone who's asking for something on a menu that's a little different to say, well, of course we can, and saying we don't allow substitutes, right? There's a big difference. And so the moment thing gets the customer either leaning into you or automatically leaning back. There was always going to be people who are not, quote, good clients. You just need to deal with them. They need to be treated, okay, as best you can in a say yes way. Okay, respecting that there could be boundaries, right, that need to be exploited at some point in time. But those are the minority. I have people talking to me, well, so there's so many people that we need that rule because, this situation may happen. And I keep saying, okay, out of 100 customers, how many would do that to you? And if it's generally one or two, I say, don't be so fucking stupid. You're building a rule system to control the minority and pissing off the majority. Does that make any sense? The answer is no, it doesn't. There's always going to be a shithead. You do not build your business to take care of shitheads. You build your business to say yes to those wonderful people that give you an annuity stream. That's what you do. Right.
And even the shithead clients are still contributing to that annuity stream. So they still deserve to get served. They still deserve for all of our efforts that we would use with every client. But sometimes the client attitude is going to determine their experience no matter what we do. That's just kind of where that lies. But I love that say yes culture. That's something that we really try to incorporate here, is because at the end of the day, we value customers, or we try to value customers more than that check they send us. I mean, at the bottom line, it's top line, right? And that's what we're trying to do. But we're looking at what is lifetime experience can we get out of that client?
Yep.
Not just money, but experience, reference. Because when you look at lifetime revenue of a client, and if you think, oh, they're paying me $1,000 a month for a year, that's $12,000. For 5 years, that's $60,000. Fuck you, you're wrong. That's not what it is. How many referrals has that client brought in? Because that adds to their lifetime.
Absolutely.
And that adds to everything as well. The referrals, the people they talk to, the things that they do. We're doing a thing now. We're going to all of our clients, ask them to record us a little video review of our company, right? And that's worth tons. Because if you have happy clients, you're gonna get that. Hey, I love Ryan, love working with Maria, love working with Steven, blah blah blah. It's great, whatever. Or I turn that video and I'm like, fuck you, Ryan, fuck you, Steven, fuck you, Maria. There's a horrible fucking experience. Fuck off, bye. Right? Yes. Right? I don't want that. Right. Or some mediocre mix between the two. I want to serve the customer to where they become our advertising, and they do that. And I feel that this say yes culture commits to that as well, that it's not just the check they're writing you that month or that year. It's also how many clients they're bringing in, how many assets they can bring to the table because you're serving them in the way that you say.
Well, saying yes is all about experiences.
Yes.
Okay. It's all about that's the intent. If you can say yes, the experience will be delightful and you will get rewarded. It's as simple as that. All right. So you just need to understand that and be committed to it. And as a leader, make sure that you're doing the things that are creating the culture that you want that allows that. Like there's a huge role here for audit. There's a huge role for credit and collections, okay, which are general control mechanisms. And so take a look at all of those items in your organization that represent control and potential pinch points in the customer engagement process and fucking do something with them. Make them yes. Make them yes points, not no points.
Absolutely. So hop in there is a change that we've made in our company recently. And one of the things in a world where economy is big, money's the bottom line, top line, capitalism, dollars. That's just a trend. That's just a trendicated version of how important money is, right?
Yeah.
Is that on one of the things you want to add value and charge premium prices, not play the price cutting game. So walk us through a little bit, because I'm in agreement with you. But recently I changed the direction of our company from being a mass production company to a niche production company, and saw revenue increase, finding those values, adding those values. Walk me through on the being different side of things, how to accomplish this.
So it's all about doing whatever you can to prevent being a commodity supplier with no differentiation in the marketplace. So being different, okay, that mantra is about carefully identifying who you want to serve and being able to discover the secrets and what that group of customers crave. So it's a move away from needs-based marketing, which tends to be oriented towards commodities, into what you refer to as a niche where you understand what they crave. Cravings are all about what people feel about. It's all about emotion. It's not about, they may need an internet connection, okay, but in the moment they're craving something else, right, in their life or in their business. And marketing needs to figure out what those cravings are all about. I call them secrets as well. You know, the things that your customer, well, they, you know, you got to work with them to discover who they really are. And once you do, you've got the makings of an unbelievable marketing program from 2 points of view. First of all, the cravings space, if we want to talk about it from a marketing tactical perspective, the cravings space tends not to have any competition because nobody's talking like this, right? They're basically needs driven. Okay, how can we be successful in the internet business? Okay, and be price competitive is kind of the thing. It's not what are my high value customers craving, and how can I play into those cravings in a way that nobody else does. The reality is there's very few people that talk about marketing to cravings, and because of that, it tends to be when you're successful, it tends to be not price competitive. So you have the ability to charge premium prices. And so that's the whole idea here is find your niche, okay, that delivers your growth goals, figure out what they crave, and then deliver value into that in a way nobody else does. And you will discover you can price up and not price down because it's emotionally driven. And look at, we tend to pay premium prices when we buy on emotion. Right? It just feels good. It's satisfying. We just do that. That's what humans do. And there's nobody else playing in there. And so you can get away with that if the emotional pull is strong enough. So that's what it's all about. Get the hell away from mass thinking, commodity thinking. Get your head around a niche, figure out what they crave, deliver something that only you provide, and charge a premium price for it. You'll get great margins and you will get the great referrals because, again, it's an emotional play. In a way, I've sort of hit on this expression yesterday, as a matter of fact. It's called monetization of feelings. So marketing's role as we go forward is to monetize feelings. How do you do that? Well, I've just described it. That's what we should be expecting our marketing people to do. You monetize feelings by defining a niche, figuring out what they crave, deliver value that nobody else does, and at a premium price. Boom, problem solved.
And yeah, the when you're talking about crave, when you're doing a commodity thing. So I like Doritos. I mean, I can't have them anymore, but I like them, right? And they mass produce them. It's a safe product. You go in, you pick them up. They're driving prices down. They're trying to get them cheap, but then back and forth. And anybody can walk in that store and get that, right? But when I was in, I think it was Michigan, they have a local chip company there, and I can't get them. I can't get them anywhere around here. So I will go online and I will pay 5 times the price to order those and get them here when I got Doritos 3 feet from me. The reason, like you said, is because I'm craving that. I want that thing, and I'm willing to go above and beyond to get that thing that I'm emotionally craving, because that crave is like your brain nagging you that you need it. And same thing in business is that kind of like with the podcasting, with the content. We started out as just a production company. We didn't touch marketing. We didn't do whatever. We hired editors, creative people. We just made the best content there. We'd slap it on the internet and nobody would fucking see it. And then that told us what our clients are craving as an audience. Their clients crave an audience. They crave interaction. They crave this. And so the production is like, But then when we added marketing, the budget went boom through the roof because effective marketing isn't cheap. We all know this, right? So we slapped some effective marketing on it and our prices tripled, quadrupled, all of those things because we tapped into the thing that people are craving.
Here's an example. Here's an example, a recent example that some work I did with a company in Eastern Canada who thought they were in the boat business. Okay, they sold boats to dealers. Okay, so they invited me in to do a strategy session with them. To make a long story short, what we discovered is that the boat dealers, which were their target market, they they kind of expected boats to float. They kind of expected the electronics to work. But what they craved had nothing to do with that. What they craved was the ability to continue to grow their dealership business. So that's what kept them up at night. And so when I talk about cravings, the example in this case was a boat dealer, had nothing to do with boats. Okay, it was an economic thing. And so what we did is we reframed the business. Okay, we said, you're not in the business of selling boats. You're in the business of providing growth solutions for those boat dealerships. And that completely changed the nature of their business. Okay, because now the conversation was all about what's going on with your business? Any way I can help? How's your inventory turns, right? How's your top line going? Blah, blah, blah. All this stuff had nothing to do with, now they built it around boats, obviously. To coin a phrase, the boat was the anchor product, but the craving wasn't about boats. And so what we need to do as marketers, and another example was actually a landscaper who thought they were in the business of actually cutting lawns, right, and doing things like that, and really they were in the property development business. So the craving was much broader than what they did. And so it's a powerful notion. The reason you can make money thinking this way is nobody else does it. And the cravings in the case of the boat dealers about staying up at night, oh my God, how am I going to, I need the boat dealer, I need my business to grow because it's my future and it's part of my, that they're prepared to pay now a lot more money for their boats plus BD solutions than they ever were before. So it's a powerful notion that unfortunately, I would say a handful of businesses understand these days because nobody's doing it.
I would agree with you. It's because once again, going back, kind of doing a callback. We talked about benchmarks at the first. Everybody wants to say in that safe benchmark thing, I can make this, I can do this. This is the benchmark. This is what every other dealership does. This is what every other thing does.
Yep.
And they're not doing cravings. They're doing on a proven. And you can't logically dismiss I'm doing something that's proven. You're just not going to make a whole lot of money at it because if it's proven, it's saturated, and it's a thing multiple people are doing. To kind of finish up here,
all I would say is you're leaving money on the table. Okay, which means it's an unsuccessful strategy because the latent potential you have is unexploited, and that's unfortunate.
No, 1,000%. So, man, I would love to go up. We're coming up on our hour here, and I bet we could do this all day because I feel like I want you to adopt me at some point. Because I feel like me and you think the same way because I looked over your website and I do want to pitch your website, which is bedifferentorbedead.com. You could spend hours on this website and there's links to your books, there's links to your blogs, there's links to whatever. And the thing that I love about you is, and I'm not trying to anti-sell you here because I'm going to order every one of your books. I've already started one of them, but there's enough information on your website to prove you know what the fuck you're talking about. Because isn't that the thing? That everybody out there puts it all behind a wall or whatever. And I got to figure out if you're a snake oil salesman, if you're an expert or what you are. Go to bedifferentorbedead.com and go look through that. Take the quiz, man. I spent like 6 hours just on the quiz because you've done this master thing that you've linked like, okay, what is craving? And you click that and then you go read that blog and go down that rabbit hole, then come back to the quiz and you come all the way through there. So just to see, what you're talking about. The old shitty Small Business Chronicles show used to start out with the question of how should I trust you? Why should I trust you? To let people do their little carnival barking pitch. And I still do that on occasion. Just pro tip, if you watch this episode and I ever do that, it's because I didn't do any research and I'm trying to think on the fly. Anyway, so that Roy Osing, he absolutely absolutely has us down from a science. You took a business from a startup to over $1 billion. You have several books out there. Not only that, is on your website, you have a lot of free information as well to help people get started, to help people get to where you're going. So I can't thank you enough for coming and doing this. And I would love to have you back for a part 2, because I mean, I was just kind of going through the quiz and picking out little pieces, and I think we got through 4 of the 20 questions on there. So I appreciate you, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much. And I'm delighted to be here. And anytime you, any help I can provide, I'm always here for you.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, if you liked the show, we got many, many more. Just go to business. You can find this. How did we change that? See, this is the problem of me not doing my homework. Smallbusinessdelivered.com, YouTube, Facebook, internet, bathroom walls, and truck stop parking lots. This is where you will find this podcast. We make sure to get it there for you. Ryan Sherrer, you can just Google me. It'll show you all the other things that we're doing in that. And while you're in there, just delete my name because I'm not important, and put Roy's, and go buy his books and go do his thing. TitanMediaWorks.com is who produces this show. Titan Media Works is a full service podcast and content creation production company. When I say full service, I mean full service. We're going to take you from ground zero. We're going to help you with creative. We're going to help you with strategy. We're going to help you build. We're going to help you take your ideas with our creative team and bring them to life, because our job is to get your message out there in the fashion that suits you. And sometimes those messages, like you say, are different. So we don't shy away from those different messages, and we want to find you a way to get your message out there and to rise above the noise. That's why I appreciate Roy so much. Thank you so much, my friend. And anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Be different or be dead.
That's right. So I'm going to go do one of the two, so you may or may not see me later. All right. Thank you so much for watching Business Uncensored.